Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I wanted to talk about the quincunx or the inconjunct aspect between Venus and Jupiter. And I think this is the last of the Venus and Jupiter aspects for me to do. So I've done videos on all of the other ones except this quincunx, which even though we're talking Venus and Jupiter, I feel like out of them all, this is probably the most difficult of the Venus Jupiter aspects in the natal chart. Although there is maybe even more of the potential to get out of this the best qualities of Venus and Jupiter, which is optimism, luck, financial benefit and gain, and just general likability from other people. But it doesn't always come easy with this one. So the quincunx or the inconjunct aspect is this awkward aspect of tension. It has kind of like a Virgo sixth house or Scorpio eighth house energy to it. That's kind of like the energy of the aspect. So it can be very investigative, and people with a lot of quincunxes are researchers, and that's the Scorpio side, or it can be very obsessive, and it can also show health issues or issues with work, and that's the sixth house Virgo energy. So between Venus and Jupiter, which are the most benevolent energies that we can have in our chart, right? When we have this quincunx, there is some sort of imbalance at times between giving and receiving. So you can actually see these people being some of the most generous people in the world, sometimes to a fault, sometimes too much so that it actually ends up harming them. They actually give to the point of having nothing left for themselves. Or it could even harm their families. Sometimes they could give so much that then, there isn't enough for their family to do something that they've been waiting on doing or something. And it's all because in the moment, in a social moment, usually, Venus is also a social planet, how we are socially, they gave too much without thinking or without meaning to, without seeing the consequences. So we can see some of the extravagance of Venus Jupiter come out here in a really awkward way that actually ends up hurting them in the long run. Now, it's not always going to be like that, because even with Venus Jupiter and a quincunx, which I think is the hardest aspect, they're still going to bounce back. They're still going to be able to get back what they gave tenfold, but it does cause some problems in the here and now. And that's, the problem with Jupiter in an awkward aspect to Venus is Jupiter is the future, right? Jupiter is a forward thinking planet. And so it when we have this conflict, sometimes there is a tension between what we know we deserve, and the money that we know we need, and the love that we know we need that is in some future destination, right? And the here and now, we don't have it. Or maybe what we have, we feel like there's something better for us in the future. So this aspect can also show dissatisfaction with current relationships. And it doesn't necessarily show disloyalty, or sometimes, like I said, with the hard aspects of Venus and Jupiter, it can show that there's some sort of cheating or something. There could be, but I feel like with this aspect, it more shows sometimes a dissatisfaction with what we have in the moment. And it's more because we think that there's something better around the corner, because Jupiter is taunting us and teasing us over there at all these possibilities. And so it definitely can be a restless nature. And perhaps in the early life there is a form of jumping from one relationship to the next, just continually seeking more, right? Because Jupiter wants more. Or it could even show less action than the other Venus Jupiter aspects, because the quincunx aspect or the inconjunct aspect is more often to manifest internally. So, an internal dissatisfaction with what you currently have in love, or to do with money as well. So Yeah, it's a really interesting aspect to have in your natal chart. I actually have someone in my family, or there's two people in my family that I'm thinking of with this quincunx. One of them is my grandfather who has passed on, who actually had a yod with Moon Mercury sextiling Venus, both quincunx to Jupiter and Sagittarius, which is like the same degree as my natal Jupiter and Sagittarius, which is so interesting. I feel like that was like probably passed on to me. But anyways, I from what I hear of him, he passed away when I was 3, but he was a very warm, kind, generous person. I'm thinking specifically of this aspect. They owned a store. This is back in like the 1940s or 1950s, and I heard stories of him, the people that couldn't pay for their food at the store, it was like a general store, he would just take care of the bill for them. And he was constantly spoken of as, very good hearted, very giving, generous person, where he would, yeah, these people couldn't afford to pay. It was on him, right? And like, I've never heard a bad thing said about him. Like, it's very different from other people in my family, like my own actual dad, who's very abrupt, very harsh in his speaking sometimes. My grandfather was like so kind and like seems like, yeah, just such a warm person. And then this other person in my family that I know with this quincunx is actually, um, out of anybody that I know, has gone through the biggest financial ups and downs. Like, I'm talking being extremely wealthy, super luxurious living and homes and just like so much money. And then also being very spendy with money and bankruptcy and like just total fluctuations of wealth. Like, and this might be double emphasized because I know that he has a Sagittarius Venus, and then Venus is quincunx Jupiter exact, but also quincunx to Uranus as well, which are conjunct in Cancer. So, anyways, I just just from personal experience, the fluctuations in money is something that can happen here with Venus, Jupiter, and a quincunx, but also, yeah, this other person too. One of the most generous people that I've ever known in my life. Always speaking so highly about other people. Like, these people can be excellent promoters. Like, when you know someone and you like what they do, or you can recommend them to everybody, and that's something this person has done, has just always been so generous in his promotion of other people. And one of those people who, when he's introducing people to other people, he's just talking about all of the good qualities of these person, like just so so much generosity, so much yeah, warmth and good heartedness, great sales ability, right? So I think these are, a part of this quincunx is like, it can sometimes, with the right signs involved, be like one of the most, overly Venus Jupiter aspects that we could see, because of the awkward tension of the quincunx. Is like, these people feel awkward socially until they can be generous, until they can be the one giving you a compliment or giving someone else a compliment. It's like there is an awkwardness until they feel like they have, being extremely generous or extremely kind. So, what you can actually end up having here on the negative side is people pleasing, of course, or even, someone who promises more than they can deliver. We could have some empty promises, and they definitely meant everything that they said, but it's like when you have a Venus Jupiter aspect, you overpromise because, like I said, this is the conflict between the now and the future, where, there isn't enough time, or there isn't enough money perhaps in the future to actually follow through with what you've committed to. And then also with love, yeah, there's going to be that, feeling of the love life being so big and taking such a big part of the life, and then, also sometimes being that feeling of dissatisfied with what you have now because it could be better, or maybe it could be someone else, or maybe, so there's like a struggle there in the love life as well, and with the heart. And, maybe at times too, it's like you're overly generous to the love partner, and you end up getting burned by that. It could also be financial loss through marriage. It could be financial loss through a partner, because of you not being able to see what is truly there because you're not present with it. You're in your own ideas of what the relationship is rather than what it actually is with this aspect. But your intentions are very pure, and yeah, you really have good intentions with this one, but there can be difficulties. But like I said, you bounce back from the difficulties, even with this quincunx. And, there could also be, probably more so than even with the other aspects, although I think I've said this about all the aspects of Venus and Jupiter, but um, difficulties with food and sweets, even like maybe diabetes or like, difficulties from overindulging in food and sugar, or you definitely need to learn moderation with this aspect, because as much as you are like this socially, you're also like this with food and what you find pleasurable. It's like really hard for you to like have moderation with the quincunx. And you might go like back and forth from like total like withdrawal or like sobriety, or like no sweets at all, or like just nothing to a certain food group and like totally cut it out, to like total binging on it. Like there's no balance. Like you can't just seem to do a little bit of something. It's like either all in, and like that causes a lot of tension as well, because then it can end up being kind of like an obsessive thing where it's like we're either just totally cutting everything out and then that causes stress, or we just have no ability to have moderation in any way. So we could see some weight issues as well with this quincunx. So there is, the potential probably for more difficulty than any of the other aspects of Venus Jupiter. But like I said, the tension of the quincunx, it's like, especially in later years, you're gonna see this the Venus Jupiter personality potentially even come out more so with the quincunx, because of the tension, because of the awkwardness that it brings. So you get a really lovable person who means well, and definitely is a great salesperson, knows how to appeal to people because of their, like, this is real genuine kindness and generosity. Like this is like one of the nicest people that you will ever meet. And they are genuine through and through, and they mean well, and there is a good karma like associated with that, even though it's a bit of a struggle in this lifetime for them to have balance. It's like the good deeds don't go unnoticed, right? So there will be benefits, there will be true love, there will be quite a potential for extreme material wealth, and maybe even more so than the other aspects, because this is a hard aspect. But yeah, the fluctuations there are very real as well. And yeah, what else do I want to say about this? It's yeah, it's a really interesting aspect to see in people. It's kind of like never a dull moment. Um, you can be sometimes too attached to your own ideas and beliefs. With Jupiter, we can see some very strong beliefs, and then with Venus quincunx them, it could be that the spouse does not believe what you believe, and that causes a tension in your relationship. So your spouse is someone who potentially has different religious beliefs, or different spiritual beliefs or morals, or that's going to be very common, and that's going to be a point of tension in your relationship when you have this quincunx. You often are attracted to people who are from a different background or have different beliefs, and like you might not share in that with your partner. And that could be one of the points of tension in your relationship when you have this quincunx, or it could just be major like personality differences. Like you might be super social, but your spouse is a hermit, right? It's that kind of conflict when we have this quincunx. But because you're so good natured, it's like you're okay with that. And like, but like make sure you're really okay with that. and you're not just saying that you're okay with that because you like to see the best in people, like, because that might end up really bothering you with time and causing you to feel hopeless or not seen. Because we could actually have, like, as good as it gets with this aspect, it could also bring a lot of suffering in love, because everything is so big with Jupiter, and like, yes, you bounce back, but like the hard times can feel just as big as the easy times with this quincunx. So you want to make sure that you really do have a compatible partner, because it is hard for you to see people clearly with this quincunx. But it's not a Neptunian inability to see people clearly, like where you're actually delusional. It's more just like there's so much hope and faith and optimism in the future that you don't always see the present. So yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this quincunx. If you have it in your natal chart, I would love to know how it's been for you. And yeah, keep your requests coming, you guys. I love when you request videos, and then they're ones that I want to do. And I have so many requests, but I just, one by one, I just pick which one I feel like talking about that day, and then I do it. And it's just like endless inspiration for content. So thank you guys so much for watching. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye.